Depression is something that's a little tough to deal with, especially with kids. So watch closely as I talk about how to help kids with depression. So as a father of 3 boys, I've had my own personal opportunities to help my kids with feeling really down about themselves. Now, you could call it a level of depression, because I think people use the word depression. There's like clinical depression, there's feeling down about yourself, there's feeling discouraged, there's feeling hopeless, there's all these different levels of depression. But I have 3 boys. And my 3 boys, going through school and having friends and growing up, all have had their own individual moments with being really discouraged and really, really down on themselves. And in each one of those moments, I found myself as a father trying to figure out ways to help them through what was going on. Now, I'm going to categorize one of my children as they could be in a mode where they want help and they're willing to do things, and then another category of they don't want to do anything. And it's like, well, how do I help my child if they don't want to do anything? And also, how do I help my child if they are willing to do some things? So I really have 2 different conversations we're going to have here. And first, we're going to talk about, really, if they don't want to jump in and do something about it, how can I as a father help them? What could I do that could make a difference? Now, I know you've already scanned my list here and think you got it all figured out, but let's walk through each one of these so you can hear the behind the stories for each one of these. And if you don't have kids yet, and you're just curious about this topic, get ready. Kids are gonna have down times. And one thing I think that facilitates this discouragement is really a lot of the TV and movies and a lot of the social media and the cell phone apps and all those kind of things, is it really is teaching children that they should have everything instantly. And this world is not an instant world. It still takes work, it still takes effort. Relationships are still difficult, you still need to learn about forgiveness. But kids are growing up in an instant type of thinking, and it can be very discouraging. They can become hopeless as they try to fulfill their dreams and their wishes. And so be ready, because if it's not your child or somebody else's child, you could have a friend who's also struggling with one of their children who's feeling really, really hopeless. So number 1, again, I'm coming straight from me being a father. I'm not somebody who is a psychologist or a therapist. This is like father to father conversation. But number 1, even when my child won't talk to me, like they literally no conversation at all, I will find ways to be in the same room as they are, just to have my presence be around them. And so, for example, one of my kids, he would shut the door and he'd just be in his room. Every day after school, he'd just shut the door. And I would go find his laundry and fold it, and so that I had a reason to walk in his room and to go put things away for him. And I would say, hey, is it okay if I come in there and put some laundry away? And if they say, no, I'll say, okay, well, you get to put it away. All right, fine, you come in and put it away, right? So I gotta be thinking, how can I get in the same room with them? And when I get in the same room with them, I count it as spending time with them, because I'm bringing my care, my love, my support with me when I walk into that room. Because really, we all have a personal space, right? I have this distance around me that's my personal space. And inside this personal space is my attitude. My thoughts, my feelings all create this attitude that's around me. So when I walk in the room, if I walk in there with the attitude that there's something wrong with my child, they're broken, they're struggling, they're never gonna make it, I could contribute to the problem. Or I could walk into the room with the attitude of, I love you, you're amazing, you're a superstar, you'll figure this out, you'll get through this. So if I can get in the same room with them and bring this good attitude, that good attitude is going to move from me to them. So this is not talking about, conversation, go work on a project together. Because are you kidding? When a child is down on themselves and they're depressed, they don't want to talk, they don't want to do anything. And they probably got their earbuds in their ears, watching something on their phone, and they're not even going to pay attention. So I've got to bring my presence to be around them, but I've got to schedule the time for that to happen. So in the evening or in the morning, I'll go help them, like get ready for school. Say, hey, you want me to help you with your backpack? No, I'm good. All right, well, hey, I made some breakfast. You want me to bring it in to you? No, I'm good. But these little moments of me being able to interact with them and not even really trying to have a conversation, just bringing my attitude to be around them. Next, Post-it notes, little Post-it notes. You can just put these little, I call them love bombs, right? These little love bombs, like just a smiley face. Don't write a lot. They've got to be short messages or just little images. So smiley face. And I take that little note and I put it on the mirror in the bathroom where they get ready. Sure enough, I go in there after they leave for school and I walk in and the note's gone. And sometimes it was gone and I look in the trash and it's in the trash. But I don't take offense to it. Because what they need is they need some evidence that somebody cares. So a little smiley face, or put rock, write the word rock and then put a star so it says rock star, so you engage their thinking. Or like if you're packing them a lunch, the good old thing where you stick a note in their lunch or a note on the mirror. Or if they got a school book with some homework in it, while they're in the shower, I'll go through their homework, find their homework, and I'll post a note right there on the homework and stick it back in their book. So when they get to school, they open it up and, oh man, there's dad again. Now get mom and dad in on this, but don't overdo it. Don't overdo it. But notes are awesome because they're little love bombs. They see it and their mind reads it. And these little tiny bits of evidence start to add up. So little notes. Now with cell phones, you got text. And I got to say this. We had a moment with one of our kids where they literally were in a no talk zone. And it wasn't just for a couple days. We're talking month after month after month, like hardly any conversation. And so my wife started sending our son a text every day. And it was a compliment. She did not ask him, why are you not talking to us? What's wrong? What's wrong? No, you don't dig into him. What you do is you just keep layering the attention, the compliments, and the love. So she started texting him a compliment each day. A compliment. And now remember, he hasn't talked to us for a long time. I mean, simple talk, but not like engage in a conversation. After about 5 days of her doing this, he responded and was like, thanks, Mom. Thanks for the text, Mom. And she was doing it every day, Monday through Friday. And I think actually 7 days a week. And something that had been going on for months, within 7 days, changed from this text. Simple, short text of a compliment. It got to him. And he started to respond to those. And at first there was these short responses, then it got into a little bit longer responses. Then the day happened. I remember sitting in the kitchen and our son walked in and he's like, hey, Mom and Dad, how's everything going? And we both about just like fell off of our chair, laying on the ground, twitching, just going like, what just happened? He's talking to us. We're like, hey, we're doing good. How are you? Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I'm gonna go hang out with my friends. And what are you guys doing today? And he doesn't realize it, but we had gone through a very big, long dry spell of him being all down and discouraged. And now he just starts talking to us. I mean, I looked at Kim and I saw the little tears in her eyes and we were about ready to burst out into tears. But notes do the work. And you can't be like, what's wrong? Talk to me. I wish you'd talk to me. You're not about trying to satisfy your needs. What you're doing is that their mind needs evidence that they matter. That's what you're attempting to do. But it works. Music is awesome. Your child has a certain kind of music that they like. Whatever music they're listening to, you go listen to the songs too. And when you're listening to the songs, ask yourself, what is this song trying to help them through? Many times, a person will choose music that they're listening to because that music is the only thing that understands them. So when I would hear the music that my son is playing, I would go find out, or I'd ask like, hey, what's your favorite songs lately? I'd go study the lyrics. I wouldn't, deem it as bad or good, like, oh, this is terrible music they're listening to. I need to understand my child. And the lyrics will help me understand their thoughts and their feelings. Because people listen to music that is in the most alignment to where they are in that time in their life. And the music they choose to listen to will help you understand what's going on the inside of them. Music is also a great way to communicate. You can play music in the kitchen, play music down the hall, and you could put all kinds of music on. But remember, if you choose music that irritates them, they're gonna push you away. So I like to study music to find out how they're doing on the inside. Talked about compliments. Remember, your story of them shapes the attitude you have towards them. If you are frustrated with your child and you're discouraged with your child not talking to you, that is not a good energy that you're giving off. It's not a good behavior that's giving off. You could be facilitating some of the problems. You could be actually perpetuating the problems because your attitude about them struggling is not good. Everybody struggles. If your child struggles, it doesn't make you a bad parent. It makes you actually normal. But your attitude towards them has got to be that you see them as being great. You see them as figuring this out. You see them as making it, but you're still doing everything you can to understand them. Now, this is the child that's not, interested in doing anything. This is how you approach somebody like this. But literally this story, write yourself a little paragraph about how you want to see your child. See them as confident and sure and forgiving, mentally strong, and write yourself a little paragraph about that so you can remind yourself the attitude to come from. Because the way in which you treat them is the way that they're going to respond. So have this be a good, positive story. And then another thing you can do is you could literally get yourself a journal, and then on the inside of the journal, you can dedicate a journal to them. And if you don't think they're listening to you physically, then you journal to them a little bit every day so that they can intellectually listen to you. Because if you write a letter to them in your journal, they intellectually will receive that letter, or you could call it spiritually receive or energetically receive. But I talk all day long about the different people I've mentored in my life who are struggling with a child, and I said, hey, get a journal, write to the child, and you will find that relationship is going to improve. Same thing with you. If you want to talk to your child and they're not there to listen to you and they don't give you any attention, then just write the letter out. Still communicate your thoughts and feelings with them and really pour it on with the compliments in this experience. Or you could actually, inside of a notebook, create a collage of positive words, positive images, and draw like a little stick figure of them or put a picture of them in the center of the page and put all these good words all the way around it. Because when you can see in your mind that your child is good and strong and confident and positive, and you write to them in such a way that you love them and care about them, it will influence their behavior. And this is what you do for for a child who doesn't want to do anything. This works. It really works. And does it solve everything? No, I tell you what, this is amazing. These are my go-to answers for me as a dad. And with my 3 boys, I've had the chance to use this with all 3 of them. And it helped us get through those struggles that they were going through. If you have a child that will listen to you and they're like, Mom, Dad, something's wrong. I need some help. These are some answers you can share with the child that I really believe will help them. It gives them some activities that they can do to make a change. Now, what I showed you on the first page, I really believe will help open them up so they'll communicate with you. And if they start asking for help, then here's some ideas of what they can do next. First, they need to have a way to unload or express themselves. And this could be just talking to you, but they have a weight sitting on them that needs to come up and off their shoulders. Now, they could be saying it directly to you, or they could, write it in a journal themselves or write it on a pad of paper. So they might express it with you, or maybe they need to have some help of expressing it in private, like on a writing pad. But either way, you notice that the same word is express. The reason why a child will stop talking is because they have a load on their shoulders and a load on their mind. Problems, challenges, social issues, comparison issues, all weigh upon the mind and weigh upon our heart. which can shut down our voice. So they need expression, either with you, they can unload their thoughts and feelings with you, or teach them like, hey, here's a pad of paper, here's a pen. Why don't you write down how you're thinking and feeling, and then when you're done, you can tear this off and hide it or put it somewhere. I don't need to read it. But if they're willing to talk, let them. If they're not, then give them a space to be able to write those thoughts and feelings down. But expression is a huge way to let go of depression. Did you hear that? Expression is a great way to get up and out of depression. Now, if a child does not have a hero, he really struggles aspiring to become something or to try to want even to develop their own personal life. So what I found with my children is I would find a movie, or find some hero figures, and I would talk to them like, hey, who's your hero? Or do you have a hero? And it's like, no, I don't have a hero. Well, what about this person? What about that person? We kind of talk about it, sort through it, and we help them find a hero. And then what we do is we get a picture of that hero, whatever type of hero it is, get a picture of that hero and stick it in their room, or seriously, right next to their bed. And so when they wake up in the morning or they're going to sleep at night, they have that hero to look at. Then underneath that picture of hero, then what we do is we have 3 characteristics that this hero resembles. And then we help them realize that, when I say we, it's Kim and I, we help them realize that they are just like their hero. And they can become even more like their hero. Because sometimes when we're stuck on seeing our own goodness, we really need to look outside of ourselves and find somebody else's goodness and go, well, I want to be like that. It's the whole aspiring piece. But that's a great, great step, is to help them find a hero. And then before I jump into this one, if they're really into the hero piece, have them type up or write up all the reasons why this person's their hero. And it really engages their mind into seeing themselves becoming like a person like that. Something else that's really helpful is power words. Individual power words, but it's a one word that could be an explanation about this child. So like with one of my 3 boys, I would call him a genius. And I'd say, man, you're just a genius. Every time he'd do his homework or do the dishes or put his shoes away, I go, you know what, there you go again, you're just a genius. And so one of my children, I'd use the word genius. Another one of my boys, I would use, he's an architect. And then the other one I would call the guru or the philosopher. And I would just pick these words, and as many times as possible, I would add that word into compliments. So if your child is in on doing something to improve so that they can stop feeling so, like they're in a struggle, help them pick 3 words that they want to be known by. Do you want to be known as smart, good looking, fast, confident, superstar, rock star? And whatever 3 words they pick, let those words be their words. Then those 3 words, type them out, put them across the mirror. Type them out, put them around the hero image. And then your little notes that you put around places, you can put those words. But I have words for my boys, and I think of those words. No matter if they're struggling or succeeding or whatever's going on in their life, I am projecting those 3 words on them. So words are huge in helping us develop our mind to get us up out of those slumps. Then, just like the collage that you can make yourself for your child, you can help them make a collage about them. I really believe that self-image, when it's missing or lacking on the inside, needs to be created on the outside so we can look at it. For example, upstairs in my bedroom, right now, upstairs in my bedroom, I have a self-image poster for me. I'm not gonna slip into depression. I'm not gonna go down. I'm gonna use these exact same techniques for me too. I wanna keep myself up and going. So I have a self-image poster upstairs in my closet so I can see it. Every time I go to grab my clothes, it's right there. So if we lack self-image on the inside, we lack, understanding who we are and where we're going and what we're becoming, sometimes it's cool to just create a collage. You can put a picture of them in the middle and help them cut out words, have a magazine or print words off and surround it with words and images that really show what they can do and what they can become. But every single one of these is something that can help your child take a step forward. Because what really matters is reopening the mind to see a person's greatness and opening up that heart and being able to feel good about oneself. Now, I didn't write it on either one of these pads of paper, but one last step I would suggest that you could do that really helped me as a dad is I would find small service projects, something where we could do good for somebody else, and I would involve my son to come help me. And I'd make sure it was small and simple, not big, not a big project, just small and simple. And I'd say, hey, why don't you come help me for 15 minutes? I gotta go help so-and-so with something. Can you come help me? And many times they grudgingly would go, and they'd sit in the truck and they'd all be quiet the whole way there. But when I would get them out to do just a little tiny bit of service, like 15, 20 minutes to go help somebody, the drive back to the house, I would see a noticeable difference. They'd be sitting up straighter on the bench or the seat in the truck, and they'd be sitting up straighter. I'd see them looking around. They weren't just staring down at the floor. They didn't say anything, and I didn't make any comments. But when you help your child do just small, little random acts of service, it gets them out of their head noticing that they can make a difference in other people's lives. And now they know they matter. Help them help somebody else, and it helps build that feeling on the inside that they matter. Well, I think you got a lot of great ideas here. For you as the parent, be really conscious of your attitude towards them. Sometimes as parents we feel like we failed or we did something wrong, but we must be the ones who have the good attitude. And so that loving attitude can literally fill up the home, fill up their bedroom, so they can be surrounded by that love and appreciation. But great ideas. You're not messed up. You got just some things here to look at of what you can do to make the adjustment. It's very normal to have a child who's struggling. Now go help them out. You'll do good. Good job. I hope you enjoyed the content that was just shared with you. And remember, it's coming from me as a father to you. And I've got some other content here that I know will really help you. So check out other videos we have here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, definitely subscribe. Let's stay connected and keep a great thing going.